It gives me great pleasure to look out and see each one of you and to see how Spirit has taken on form and expressing uniquely and individually as each of you. That's a real blessing. Welcome. And welcome to all of you that are on Zoom connecting with us. You are a blessing and we feel your presence too. Today is December 21st, and I am your pulpit assistant. I'm known as Shirley Angel Love. We have a few opportunities this coming week, and the first of all began today, this morning, at 9:30 to 10:30, early birds. And this is the place in which we share a book or have conversation about it. Today we shared from The Power of Now. And so it meets from 9:30 to 10:30, and we sometimes some meet in the fellowship hall, and some of us meet on Zoom. Our speaker today is Dr. Edward, so we're very thankful for that. And this coming Sunday will be Reverend Kamatara. And we're blessed that she has moved from Albuquerque to our city of Las Cruces. So we're very blessed to have her. On Thursday evening, we have a gathering in the fellowship hall or either by Zoom at 7 p.m. And it is a video. And also, they're connecting by way of the Gaia channel, and then conversation afterwards. So that's another opportunity to get together. And it says here that our new Science of Mind magazines are here, and they're double, so there's January and February in them. And they are $6, and you can see Judy Bethman about that to make your payment to her. A wonderful thing is happening on Christmas Eve. We're gathering together with CSL, the Center of Spiritual Living downtown, for an evening gathering. And so I encourage you to come and be with more of our brothers and sisters. And then every Tuesday at 4:15, Wellspring and Center for Spiritual Living and Unity is Unity a part of it, and they gather together to pray. The ministers and some of the practitioners gather together to pray for your requests, your prayer requests. And if you have one here that you would like to have considered and supported, we have a box in the back of the room where you can put your request, or you can give it to Dr. Edward. This is a good time when they pray with you for your requests, And it's a good time for you to be quiet and join in wherever you are with them for prayer. And so now it is time for us to have a little moment of prayer together. First of all, I'd like to suggest to you, how would you like to give yourself a hug this morning? Yes, yes. How good and how pleasant it is for us to dwell together in unity. And today we acknowledge, Great Spirit, all of our invisible family, angels, archangels, ascended masters. Thank you. Thank you for being here and always being here as we enter. It's just wonderful. And we open our hearts and our minds to feel the presence. We give thanks for this day. We give thanks that we are so connected to all that is. And I like to say, I am my I am presence. And I'm one in the I am presence of all humankind. And so we come together with thanksgiving. I'm thankful that you chose to be here today. I'm thankful that today our message, our music, our reading, our gathering together is a blessing to all. We're open, and there's something here that will especially speak to you, that you can take in and take as you go from this place. It will minister to you, and you will even more know and experience that you're not alone. And we say together, and so it is. Thank you. Okay, so now is our time of our song of joy. Edwin and Doug are going to help us with that.
We have a few more handouts, and I decided to make handouts because I could include a paragraph about the history of the hymn. And by the way, Judy's group, the Mesilla Valley Chorale, did this. Was it last Sunday? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody need a handout? Do you want one? So. And the words are by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and the tune is just it's a hymn that was written in the 1800s. By the way, the golden age of hymns, in my opinion.
And so it would be good for you to stand if you're able.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. I thought how as the day had come, the bells frees of all Christendom have rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day, a voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head, there is no peace on earth, I said. Hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep, God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, of peace on earth, goodwill to men.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. You may be seated. And so we like to say together our vision, our mission, and our affirmation. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. And our affirmation: as the years come to a close, I celebrate the divine journey of my life. I affirm that each moment has unfolded in perfect order, bringing me closer to my highest self. I step forward in faith and joy, love, ready for the limitless possibilities ahead. That's a good affirmation, isn't it? Okay, and we're so blessed to have our brother Doug here again today. Thank you, Doug.
Most of you know my wife, Nancy. She wrote the lyrics to this song years ago, back when we were first getting to know each other over 25 years ago. And she got an Irish musician named Jerry O'Byrne to write the music. And she then got me to sing it for this, for a CD that she created called Leaving Yesterday. And it came back into my mind this week as I was preparing, because it's called Winter Solstice, which is today. Sometimes my darkness grows like the light from June to December. Where the light goes, I don't know. The dark asks me to remember. I wander in my night, traveling blind of sight, seeking comfort for my fright, until the dawn returns the light. The journey I have made brought me where I am. If I imagine dark as shade, I can rest where I am. When winter's full tide floods my longest night, faith whispers to abide. Daybreak will bring new sight. I wander in my night, traveling blind of sight, seeking comfort for my fright, until the dawn returns the light. The journey I have made brought me where I am. If I imagine dark as shade, I can rest where I am. As the days go long, between December and June, the dark is not so strong, but their turn will come again soon. I wander in my night, traveling blind of sight, keeping comfort for my fright, until the dawn returns the light. The journey I have made brought me where I am. If I imagine dark as shade, I can rest where I am. That's from Nancy.
That was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And thank you, Nancy, if you're listening. What a blessing. Our reading this morning is taken from 365, Science of Mind. The Christ mind that abides within you is the incarnation of God in every individual. Not a person lives who does not have at some time in his or her life sense this inward presence. the vision of the divine that presses against us. It is seeking entrance through our thoughts. We must open the door of our consciousness and permit it to enter. It is willingness, acceptance, and recognition that give entrance to the divine presence. It is faith and acknowledgement that prevent its creative power to flow through our word. So today we could say, today I am opening my consciousness to a realization of the eternal Christ. I know that Christ dwells in me, and I know there is an invisible guide, a living presence with me at all times. With complete simplicity and directness, I recognize my divine center. Consciously, I unify myself with this pure spirit in which I live and move and have my being. I am strong with the strength of the all-vitalizing power of pure spirit. I am sustained by divine energy, which flows through me as a radiant health and vitality. Every atom of my being responds to this divine presence. I completely surrender my life to it. And so we are blessed this morning to have our own Dr. Edward come and share his heart with us. Be open to receive. There's something here for you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Shirley, for the reading. You know, in New Thought, Christmas is one time of the year that we feel that we can speak about Jesus. You know, we try to avoid that word, partly because of its association with the born again and so forth, and Jesus saved and all that kind of stuff. But we use Jesus in the sense that he embodied all of us, embodied all of humanity. So I think some of you are aware that Christmas wasn't always Christmas. We kind of decided to celebrate that Jesus' birth, and there was some concern or discussion as to when that might have actually happened. But it wasn't until the 6th century that we decided, we being whoever they were, decided that December 25th was the birth of Jesus. And that was because they decided the conception was on March 25th. And exactly 9 months later, here we have December 25th. And then, of course, the church fathers at that time had other reasons that they decided to have it kind of coincide with the winter solstice and all the other winter celebrations that were pagan, and we didn't want to have the early Christians participating in those, so we came up with December 25th as Christmas, which was a Christian tradition. However, Saint Nick kind of got in the way. And so now we celebrate as a commercial event as the reason for the season. But anyway, be that as it may, I like to say that what we're celebrating is the birth of the awakening of the Christ consciousness in humanity. Now you might argue that the Christ consciousness has always been here. So what are we calling it? The awakening of it, perhaps. And I also want to say that, believe it or not, if you've read Science of Mind, the big thick book Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes talks about Christ and Jesus. And I've borrowed some of the words today from chapter 22 out of the Science of Mind. Not the monthly magazine, but the big book. So let's remember, as I think we all do, that Jesus' last name was not Christ. It was not Jesus Christ. In New Thought, we come to call it Jesus the Christ, in acknowledgement of the Christ presence that Jesus brought when he incarnated. And like I said earlier, the Christ consciousness has always been available to the earth and to the universe, really. But I think maybe it became more explicitly available when Jesus came. So I like to think that while we may not hear much about Jesus' life before the age of 12, that chances are he was still Jesus, and he still had all the powers that we sort of came to recognize as he was later in life. You know, so perhaps when he was playing with his friends, certain things might have happened, and he might have performed a healing, if we want to call it that, or maybe a rescue of an animal or something. And why not? It wasn't just that he became the Christ when he was 12 or something like that. So, and I think that's similar to the manner in which we may awaken spiritually. Maybe not all at once, but when we, quote, awaken, we bring that which has always been with us in the unconscious to the conscious. And like I said, it may have happened slower for some than for others. We might have seen, I think as the reading was, we might have seen a little glimpse of our Christ consciousness from time to time in our life. It's been different for all of us. However it was is exactly the way it was meant to be. Let's put it that way. And Ernest Holmes, of course, said that Christ is the divine idea of God incarnate in humanity. And with that, we can say that the Christ is not confined to just the person Jesus or the moment that Jesus was here, but to this divine pattern of love, wisdom, and wholeness that's present in every soul. And I say the title of my talk is The Gift of the Christ Consciousness. And when we think about what a gift is, if you go to the dictionary, it says something voluntarily transferred without compensation. Now, there's kind of a joke in our family about some members of the family who might not open their Christmas gifts until Easter time or what have you. But the gift has been given. So the gift of the Christ consciousness is always available, but there's nothing or no one forcing us to accept it, lest we choose to. It's not, I mean, I guess I'd say there's no one forcing us, but we have that inner thing that forces us to step into who we are. So it may not be a forcing, maybe it's a drawing out of who we are rather than a forcing. But I remember years ago someone gave the example, which we've all probably experienced, that you're looking for, let's say, where's the ketchup in the refrigerator, right? And you've looked in there, can't find it, it's got to be somewhere, but it's not there. And you even may call somebody who's living in the home with you and say, where is the ketchup? And they go, well, it's in the fridge. I've looked in the fridge, it's not in the fridge. And so they come over and it's right there. And the expression that was used was, suddenly it was always there. And that's how we experience when we step into a higher consciousness. Suddenly, it was always there. So, at the same time, as we talk about all this, the arrival of the Christ consciousness, or Jesus on the earth, did raise the collective consciousness of the planet. And we know, because we understand how this works, that the Christ consciousness lifted the vibration of all humankind and also of the cosmos. Just as we know that as we raise our consciousness, we lift the entire cosmos. We lift our community, we lift the country, we lift the earth, we lift the entire cosmos. And if we want to use some of the more modern terms, we could say that our lifting our consciousness contributes to raising the vibration of the quantum field, shall we say, localized around the earth, but yet spreading outward from that. So in addition to the presence of the Christ consciousness, there's a lot going on in the intellectual level. And we know that as Jesus began his teachings, he brought new concepts and ways of thinking to the Western world. But we also know that he visited the Eastern world as well and had some influence there and some cross-pollination there. So the Christian religion was based on the teachings of Jesus. But we also know that some of the teachings that are in the Bible have been rewritten from what he originally said. And as we're reading the things like the Gospel of Mary or the Gospel of Thomas, we get to see maybe something that hasn't been modified by the early church fathers who wanted to bring forth a certain agenda, if you will. So anyway, we know that Ernest Holmes and many of the New Thought teachers did use the teachings of Jesus as was written in the Bibles at that time as models for their teachings. And so I'm going to go through a couple of things here, 3 or 4. That first of all is the statement or the expression that we are all children of God. And of course, son is the same as child, and we talk about sons of God or daughters of God, children of God. And also there's a use of the word Father God, which is really Mother, Father God, or Spirit. So we just got to read the truth into what is written sometimes. So the church said that Jesus was the only begotten Son of God, whereas the correct interpretation probably should have been that the Son, or the Christ, begotten of the only Father. So a little different slant on that, just by kind of rewriting it. And we know that there's only one, and that one, capital O-N-E, is everything. So each of us partakes of the Christ nature to the degree that the Christ is revealed through us, and to the degree, or that degree, we become the Christ. And as I said earlier, we have all been gifted the Christ. The Christ is available to all of us, and it comes to varying degrees to everyone, all ages, all people. And of according to Holmes, that kind of ties in with the power of the word. Because in New Thought, we speak of the law. However, the law is subject to the word. When the word is spoken, the law always says yes, and it works automatically. So when we speak the word as Jesus did, he was using the power of the law and the power of his word. So another statement that is attributed to Jesus is that I and the Father are one. Remember? Father, universe. Okay. So Spirit or God is supreme, infinite, of limitless personality. So when we come to that sense of communion with that, we would demonstrate all the God characteristics instantaneously. And Jesus located God in his own soul. And so complete was this realization that he was unable to find a place where the being of Jesus began and the being of God left off, or where the being of God began and Jesus ceased to be. Thus, I and the Father are one. And he saw this communion with the one such that he couldn't really differentiate the two. And so I think many of the Christian teachings is that Jesus was somehow different from other humans. But he was a man who knew himself and his direct relationship to the whole. So if we think that Jesus was different than other men, then we've kind of misunderstood his mission and the purpose in our life as well as in his life. He was a way shower and proved that his way to be a correct one. He believed in God in himself as power and reality. Believing in God within, he was compelled to believe in himself. That's kind of an interesting. And of course, Jesus believed in the God in everyone, as demonstrated by one of the famous Bible statements, right? Which is, greater things than this you shall do. The power of the Christ is unlimited. And he believed it's in every one of us. So, greater things than this. Because he was more connected, shall we say, or more consciously connected with his Christ consciousness, he was able to speak with an authority that we may not always feel. And he knew, since he was speaking into the law, that it was going to happen. So Quimby, which was another of the early metaphysicians and sometimes called the forerunner of New Thought in the United States or the New World at the time, emphasized that Jesus revealed a universal spiritual principle rather than a personal exception, which we've kind of talked about as well. And so Christ consciousness is not something to be worshipped at a distance, but something to be realized within. It's an awareness of our true spiritual nature and understanding that we live, move, and have in our being as gods. Or godlings, as some people like to call it. Yeah. And so, as this awareness awakens, fear gives way to faith, limitation dissolves into possibility, and separation yields to unity. And there's a little book, I call it a precious book. It's by an author named Finn, in which he adopted a street waif. And or the street waif adopted him. I'm not quite sure which way it was. It's written in England. And every night, this little girl will kneel down to her prayers, and she starts her prayer with, "Mr. God, this is Anna." And that is the name of the book as well. And one of her expressions is, "God is in my middle, and I am in God's middle." I and God are one. So this leads me to the next concept or teaching that I chose from that chapter, and that is we have a personal relationship with God, which Anna absolutely did. It wasn't this, well, you got it, yeah. And we also know that because of this personal relationship, there's no reason that we need to go through a third party to commune with God. Jesus made that point, but later on the Roman Catholic Church decided that they needed a third party in the midst of that, and so that became the teachings. In New Thought today, we understand that's not the case. All right, Jesus also spoke of love and forgiveness. And Ernest Holmes writes about this. He said that Jesus knew that some had misinterpreted the Mosaic law, which is an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and so forth. He corrected them when he said, You heard that it is said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. However, I say to you, do not resist the one who is wicked, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other also to him. And so he wasn't contradicting the earlier law, but he was revealing a higher use of it. So instead of allowing the law of cause and effect to operate unconsciously, he invited humanity to use it correctly through love, forgiveness, and compassion. So I was thinking about that, and I thought, when you're doing the eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, the revenge thing, you're down here on the level fighting, right? When you use the higher concept of this, you rise above it, you operate out of love, you operate out of a higher consciousness. So who cares about the other cheek? Anyway, and Jesus said, according to the books, you must love Jehovah your God. You know that, the first commandment. The second commandment is like this, you must love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus taught that love, not vindictiveness, would identify his true followers. Now, I feel that we've misconstrued this statement to the extent that we felt we were directed to love our neighbor and sort of ignoring ourselves. And we all know now that we can't love our neighbor unless we have already in love with ourselves or are already in love with ourselves. So that's a slightly different change to just the simple word as. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, or in the same manner. And in addition, loving ourselves means forgiving ourselves for any and all, real or imagined, errors in our thinking or behavior. What greater way to love yourself than to accept and know no matter what, you, me, we are so beloved. And Anna said something, which we've heard repeated by others as well, and she said, God didn't make no junk. So don't you believe you're junk. So in closing, the gift of the Christ consciousness has already been given. Let's open our hearts and accept it. Jesus revealed what is possible when one fully realizes their unity with God. His life demonstrated that the presence we call God is not distant but indwelling, not separate but expressed through us as love, compassion, creativity, and peace. Christmas reminds us that this same divine life is seeking expression through each of us here and now. So this Christmas, may we allow the light of the Christ to shine through our thoughts, words, and actions. May we embody peace where there is conflict, love where there is fear, and generosity where there is need. And so it is. So let's take this to prayer. As I stand here and I acknowledge the Christ in each and every one of you and those of you on Zoom as well. I see for each of you as well as for myself that this Christ consciousness is indwelling, always available, always ready. And as we unite ourselves with this Christ, this oneness with God, we have available to us all the powers, all the understanding of that oneness. As we take that moment of silence, we can allow that to bubble up and present ourselves to ourselves. As Reverend Sam once said, we are gifts from God to God. So I see the gift that each and every one of us are. Each is this light being that's sitting in a body, much larger than that body, of much greater influence than we even understand. So we allow this merging of our individual consciousness to one here within this sanctuary and with everybody on Zoom and everyone who watches us. They tune in. They are also united with this sphere, this multidimensional sphere that knows no limits, knows no boundaries. And as Jesus said, take up your pallet and walk. We also know that there is a healing happening in every one of us as we touch into that divinity that we are. We know that as we speak these words into the law, they must happen. The law always says yes. And for this understanding, and this knowingness, and this healing, we are grateful. We are grateful on behalf of ourselves and on behalf of the entire planet. The collective consciousness is grateful. Because each and every one of us has a part to play in this lifting of the collective consciousness of the universe. You are more special, more beloved than you can even imagine. So we leave here today knowing this, also knowing that we can touch into that already there Christ whenever we choose. And so it is. And Doug?
I've got another solstice song for you. Sing along. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, I see it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, the smiles returning to their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. One more. Sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, I see that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
You never cease to amaze us.
Well, you amaze me too.
Yeah, thank you. Let's give him another hand. Thank you. And so right now it is our time to take our, to share our monetary gifts. And Sharon's going to help us coming from the back. We acknowledge and receive our virtual and person gifts. We give great thanks for the offerings already given and those that we are receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are a part of the one flow. We affirm that we are also part of that flow. We bless these gifts and know they are multiplied throughout our community. And so it is. Thank you, Sharon. Well, there are a number of folks who have contributed to the production of the service today. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Doug. And thank you, Edward. And thank you, Edwin. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we thank all of you on Zoom that have gathered with us today. And you can continue to be on for a little while afterwards and share with one another if you so desire. And those that are here, you can join together over in the fellowship hall for conversation. There we go. And some goodies too. So I just give you, just thank you so much for being here today. And so if you will stand, we will share our benediction and sing our song of peace. We like to gather with our song of peace in the aisle and hold hands and sing it together. And we thank you, Doug and Edwin, for accompanying us today. Oh, Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world, and so it is.